Hey there. Hello, how do you do? My name is Harry Wetzel. Thanks for coming. It's the 80s, darling. Yes, 1985, Wednesday, late summer. I haven't seen Mirella since our first meeting slash date slash makeout session. We've spoken on the phone a few times, a couple times, left a few answering machine messages. So did she. But we haven't seen each other in a couple of weeks. She's got a hell of a schedule, apparently. All right. So I'm still not in the actors union yet, which means I can only audition for non-union and therefore, in many cases, non-paying gigs. But it's all I've got is auditions in this world capital of unemployed actors. The most important thing you can do when you're unemployed is to seek employment. And in New York City, that means audition, audition, audition. All right, so a couple of weeks ago, I was at a party, the same party that Suzanne and Lily threw, wherein I met Lori Moon. Well, at that same party, one of Suzanne's friends that Suzanne introduced me to was a beautiful, brilliant, apparently highly talented young woman by the name of Helen. Yes, Helen was apparently a brilliant actor, and she knew about the business aspect of show business. Yes, we had a fascinating conversation about agents, about seeking agents, about representation and seeking representation. Yes, she told me about how she would go every now and then to various agents around the town. She had a little sheet that she had mimeographed, that she had zymiographed, that had all the agencies on it. And she would go from building to building, from agent to agent, and turn in her headshot and resume, say hello, sometimes have a conversation, sometimes not, sometimes just pass off the headshot and the mug shot and the resume and be on your merry way and hope for the best. All right. I said, oh, that sounds exhausting. That sounds awful. She says, no, it's really fun. People are really friendly and you get to see some amazing offices. You do. She said, I'm going next week. You should come with me next Tuesday. And I'm like, oh, I think I'd love that. She said, yes, it's a lot of fun and we'll get a lot of stuff done. All you need to do is bring headshots and resumes and we'll go around Midtown and go to various agencies. I've got a list, she said. And I'm like, this will be fantastic. So what do we do? Now it's the next Tuesday and we met at the Paramount building. Yes. Yes, the Paramount building. Right here on Broadway in Midtown. The Paramount building was the headquarters for Paramount Pictures back in the 30s and 40s and the like. Yes, there was a huge movie theater there until 1964. Yes, and there was a live stage. In the old days, the big acts would play there. And today, the Paramount building still has a lot of offices and a lot of agencies in there. So that's where Helen and I met in front of the Paramount building. And I had my not quite a briefcase, not quite a portfolio, a sort of hybrid half and half briefcase portfolio with all my mugshots and resumes in it. I had my nice suit on, and we went into the Paramount building, got on the elevator. You know what it's like, elevators. And we went into one of the offices and we go in there. Hello, how do you do? Here's my picture and resume. And they're like, all right, thank you. They were very nice and everything. But they were like, get out. Not really, but they might as well have. So we're like, all right. And we went, got on the elevator. We went to another office. There were several agencies in the Paramount building. So we went to three. Get on the elevator. Your stomach is still upstairs when you're going down, and vice versa. Great. So we dropped off resumes and mugshots at several agencies in the Paramount building. Then we're outside in the air again, and we've got to start pounding the pavement. Go around over here, a few blocks over here, go upstairs, get in the elevator. You go up to the 30th floor and stop and stop and stop, and your stomach is doing all this funny stuff. Yes. And we're walking around, pounding the pavement. And then we get on the next elevator. Hello, how do you do? Here's my picture and resume. And I'm beginning to feel a little bit woozy from all this elevator activity. I'm actually getting motion sickness. You know, I never did well on carnival rides, and this is beginning to feel a little bit like that. My stomach, I felt very stomachy. And so after a few of these buildings, we've gone into several, and I'm beginning to feel a little bit queasy. I say, Helen, can we sit down for a minute? I'm feeling woozy. She says, are you all right? I say, yeah, this has never happened before. I just don't fare well on carnival rides, and this is beginning to feel a little bit like it with all the elevator activity. So we sat down on a bench there, Midtown. Had a cigarette. I felt much better after that. Then we continued going from office to building to get on the elevator. And we went, by the end of the afternoon, we had turned in around a hangman's dozen, 13 or so pictures and resumes at 13 or so different agencies. And Helen's like, we've got to do this again next week on the other side of town. And I'm like, absolutely. She said, you sure you'll be okay? I'm sorry you're afraid of the elevators. I said, I'm not afraid of them. I just get woozy sometimes. And I never used that many elevators up and down. I don't know. I didn't understand it anyhow. I said, yes, we're going next when? Tuesday? Fantastic. So we got an engagement and we're going to go around, do this again. Go to various agencies and just get known a little bit better. You're introducing yourself around. This is how you do it, apparently. All right. So meanwhile, back in my relationship with Mirella, we had a date. She called me up. She apparently had a crack in her schedule, and we decided we were going to meet at Bar Louie. Bar Louie on the Upper West Side, Lui, Bar Louie. It was a fantastic place. It had its most, interesting lighting, and it had this really interesting design motif. It seemed like that place was built in the future, and we had a lovely date there. We went for drinks and smokes and dances, right? So we drank and laughed and smoked and laughed and danced and laughed. We had a fantastic time. We really did. And in a really interesting bar. I know. Afterwards, we walked home. We held hands on the way home, yes. And we went to her apartment and had a fantastic makeout session in the hallway. Yes, I still haven't been granted access to her apartment yet, like a vampire who hasn't been invited. I know. But we had a lovely smooching session out in front of her apartment door. And after a while, she said, all right. And she opened the door, went in, like before. She said, this is where we say goodnight. And I said, yes. When do we see each other again? She said, we'll talk. And then she gave me a nice smooch and shut the door. And good night, click. I'm okay with this. She kisses me, and those kisses seem real. I think she actually likes me, and I think her schedule is actually kind of busy. You know, so I'm good with this. All right. So it's Monday night before Tuesday when Helen and I are going to get together and go and go agent hunting. The computer just said, ding, you heard the whole thing. Anyhow, that night, that Monday night before the Tuesday we were going out, Helen called up and she said something came up. She's got a big audition. She's got to prepare for it. She's got stuff to do. She's not going to be able to meet me tomorrow on our agent hunting. Yes. So I was thinking about it. I said, you taught me how to do it. And it's really not that complicated. So I was thinking about doing it on my own. I'm going to have to learn to do some stuff on my own. So I think I'm going to do it. She said, good for you. You have good luck. You have a good thing. And I said, and you have a fantastic audition. All right. So now it's the next day. It's Tuesday. I go over to the east side of town, over to Midtown over there. I'm on Lexington Avenue. I've got my nice suit on. I'm carrying my little briefcase with my mugshots and resumes in it. And I am pounding the pavement. I am agent hunting. Okay, this isn't that much different when you're alone, as it turns out, from apartment hunting or job hunting. You're pounding the pavement, you're walking around, your feet are turning into cement. It's exhausting. You're wearing your nice suit, but you're sweating through it. Oh, because it's a hazy, humid day in Manhattan. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. And then you get on the elevator. Oh, great. I'm walking around, my feet have turned to cement, and suddenly, I realize that now I have to go to the loo. Now, suddenly, I'm bathroom hunting in Manhattan. And most businesses, most restaurants do not welcome random use of the restrooms. No, they don't. You got to buy something. You got to pay if you want to use the restroom. You got to pay to void. Isn't that horrifying? Anyhow, so I'm beginning to panic as I'm walking around and the inexorable movement of my alimentary canal refuses to cease. So I'm hanging on for dear life from the bottom up, as it were, as I walk around looking for someplace to void in peace for free. I'm in despair, and I look up in despair, and I see it! The Chrysler Building! Yes, the Chrysler Building. I say, that's it. That's where I'm going to go. That's where I'm going to void. That's where I'm going to go to the loo. That's where I'm going to take a dump. In the Chrysler Building. So, with renewed purpose, I walked the last few challenging blocks up to the Chrysler Building there. I'm on Lexington. I get up there to 42nd and I go into the Chrysler Building. It is a beautiful, beautiful building. Always one of my favorites. It's an Art Deco tour de force and everything. The angles of the colors is just so beautiful. I walk into the lobby. It's gorgeous. I look over at the elevators. The elevator doors are gorgeous. Even the elevator buttons. So I go over and press one. The door opens and I get in. I got my own elevator. Great. So I press 55, a random multiple of 11, and the door shut, and the elevator slowly, slowly climbs. So does my colon. I am at my wit's end and the end of my physical strength. I think I'm hanging on as bitterly as I can. And eventually, oh, so eventually, the elevator gets to floor 55 and the doors open. Well, the doors open on the lobby of an office, the kind of lobby they do not make anymore. Oh, it's so beautiful. Polished dark wood, polished marble, polished brass trim. Oh, it's just, there's a beautiful curved desk there. Also dark, shiny wood. It's just beautiful. And there's a dreary man sitting behind it. My eyes quickly panhandle around the room, and I see, to my delight, a restroom, and I make a beeline for that. Yes. Mr. Dreary says, "May I help you?" And I say, "Yes, restroom." And I duck on in there and shut the door. Well, I am standing in clearly one of the nicest restrooms I've ever been in my entire life. No exaggeration and no hyperbole. It was so beautiful. But all of that is absolutely esoteric if I soil my trousers. So, with the business aspect of this visit over with, I can now begin to take in this bathroom for the beauty that it is as far as a room goes. I get out there and I'm looking and I'm washing up there at the sink, and there's this polished marble sink and polished marble tile around the sink, polished marble tile around the windows, and the window goes like this. It's one of the distinctive triangular windows in the Chrysler Building. Down there in the corner, you can see it. Yes. I'm in one of those windows looking out, and I'm looking south. It's a hazy day, but Even in a hazy day, the Manhattan skyline is quite lovely. I finished washing up in this room that is a feast for the eyes. I opened the door, and isn't that nice? They summoned a security guard to escort me back the 11 paces to the elevator. Wasn't that thoughtful of them? Mr. Dreary sits smugly behind the desk as the security guard walks me over to the elevator, and he pushes the Art Deco button himself. The door immediately opens, and I get on. I turn around, and I say, thank you so much. Bye, as the elevator door shuts. I got to tell you, that ride down in the elevator was so much easier than the ride up. Yes. Well, I've still got my briefcase and my headshots and resumes, and there's still a few on the list that I haven't gotten to over here in this part of town. So I go take the elevator, and I go and I drop off a few more headshots and resumes. My depressing mugshot. Yes, you remember. Anyhow, I'm still not in the Actors Union yet. I'm still not in Actors Equity. AEA, the Actors Equity Association. I'm not in that yet, which means I can only audition for non-union gigs. But that's what I can do, is continue my auditioning, because I got to be really good at it. I got to be really good. I got to the point where I got to be an expert at one aspect of my audition. I got to the point where I could give an audition and guarantee that I was not going to get called back. Well, apparently I was brilliant at that, because that's what happened every time. All right. So meanwhile, back in my relationship with Mirella, Mirella was a macrobiotic. Vegetarians taste better. You know, ask the bumper sticker. Anyhow, she invited me out to dinner. She belongs to a macrobiotic association or something like that. And she invited me to a communal macrobiotic dinner down at the macrobiotic center that she belonged to or something like that. Yes. So this is fantastic. We're going to have an actual date. We've never shared a meal together. This will be delightful. So I walked down to her place, and then we walked down just a few blocks to 87th Street or something like that, to where the Macrobiotic Association was. All right. So we go in there, and it's absolutely fascinating. The beginning of the meeting, the beginning of the dinner, is started with a communal evocation of the greater consciousness and a chant. Yes. Everybody starts humming on a similar tone, on a similar vibration, and we sort of ground ourselves that way. And apparently, it's actually good for your digestion. So, after the communal evocation, we all sat down at many tables, round tables of 8 or 10 or so people. The dinner was fantastic. It was. It was very filling, very obviously very nutritious. There was a lot of greenery. All the vegetables were boiled or steamed, or and very little spicing at all. Right, and it was all served family style. They brought in great big bowls, and they put them in the middle of these tables that we were sitting around. And the food was delicious, and the company was fascinating. One of Mirella's friends was a balloonist. Yes, and there was a group of 4 or so people over here who were from Austria. They spoke very little English, but they were apparently hilarious, because they were breaking each other up the entire evening. Maybe they were making fun of us. I don't know, but they were laughing a lot. It was like watching a foreign movie without the subtitles. Well, after the fantastic and delicious and nutritious dinner, Mirella and I walked home. holding hands. We walked up Broadway. We walked up to my apartment. I picked her up at one point. She was so light. I picked her up and I could lift her up like that. You know what I mean? And I brought her down in a hug and I was holding her and I smooched her and I put her back down. She had this warm purr of a laugh. She was fantastic, and she was a very easy laugh. She was very friendly, and she was a fantastic audience. I knew how to make her laugh, and that was fun for both of us. Yes, we got up to my apartment, went into my bedroom, and I put on Beethoven Ninth Symphony. This one conducted by Wilhelm Furtwängler. This particular cover of the symphony, it's a superb recording from 1951. Oh yes. So we listened to that, and I adjusted the lights in my room because in my bedroom there at Pamela's, I had funny colored lights, and I turned on the funny colored lights and turned off the white light and had the music playing. And slowly, she removed her undergarmentry. The next morning, we got up and we showered together. And then we were sitting around in my bedroom listening to music and drinking coffee. And she put her hair up in a towel like a turban. And as we sat around drinking coffee, that's all she was wearing. That's all she was wearing. Remember, she was 2% body fat. Anyhow, she liked to prove it. Flaunt it, perhaps. Anyhow, next date we had was at her apartment. She had a couple of apartments. She was a wealthy Wall Street trader, as I mentioned. I'll tell you about what happened at that apartment next time. I thank you for coming on this journey with me. Yes, I do. Thank you so much for coming along. And I look forward to talking to you next time.